from the glossary. I'll do two together, Astral Plane and Astral Body. Astral Plane, the second of the 7 major planes of reality upon which all human beings function. The astral plane is a subtle electromagnetic field generated by all low-frequency human desire and emotion. On the astral plane of reality, your every feeling or desire has an independent existence and can be understood as an entity with its own vibratory frequency. Through the law of affinity, you draw into your aura the astral entities that match the frequency of your feelings and desires. As you purify your emotional nature, it gradually becomes impossible for astral entities to influence your life and feelings. At this point, you begin to function on the higher octave of the astral plane, known as the Buddhic plane. So, in a way, this is a metaphor, but it also can be taken as true. As is the paradox of the gene keys. It's a really helpful way of looking at purifying our emotional state, because it shows us how clearly we can be a victim of the emotions of others, or the emotions of, of the day, of the mood, of the stars, that we are, the kind of musical instrument, and the gods are playing their tunes on us, and sometimes those tunes are rasping and unpleasant. It's up to us to tune the instrument through the law of affinity so that we draw in the sweetest tunes and harmonies and frequencies, rather than just be, a kind of block of wood played on by the gods. So think about yourself as, operating on this plane where you draw in frequencies, so emotional frequencies you draw in through the astral plane, and you draw them in the day, but you also draw them in at night when you're asleep through your dreams. We've all probably heard of the astral plane. People refer to it. And I don't want to get too hooked up with the whole sort of entities thing at all, because that's only part of the metaphor. It's a helpful metaphor, this. The truth is, we're all one thing. All these planes and dimensions are all one plane. They're connected. It's just one. So this is a way of separating out layers of our life force, so that we can understand how to create alchemy and purify them. And then it gives us this ladder, the ladder of lights. So drawing in higher entities, higher frequencies into our aura emotionally is what protects us from lower emotions. And when I say lower emotions, again, it's not like they're lower, there are emotional states that are, they're draining, aren't they? And you have to accept them and let them be what they are. If you're angry, you're angry. If you feel shame, you feel shame. If you feel whatever it is, and you have to let that play and just let that be. But by drawing in these higher ones, these higher frequencies from the Buddhic plane, it starts to negate the influence that those other states have on us. The astral body, the second major subtle layer of your aura corresponding to the astral plane. Of all the subtle bodies, the astral body is closest in vibration to the physical body and its etheric counterpart, which means that your emotional life has the most powerful and direct effect on your physical health and vitality. That is an extraordinary thing to consider, and would be great if medical science could grasp that one day. That our emotional body actually sets the themes of our physical body most directly. So the way we feel dictates the way we feel in our body. And so feelings and the physical body are absolutely intimately interconnected. Thoughts are one step further. So we'll do that when we do the mental body. The astral, yes, the direct effect on your physical health and vitality. The astral body is gradually developed in your second 7-year cycle from the age of 8 until 14, during which time all your major emotional patterns are laid down. As you contemplate the shadow consciousness field and how it affects and governs you personally, you're reaching down into your astral body and re-imprinting your basic emotional patterns with a higher frequency. This will bring about a major transformation in all your relationships as you become less reactive and more emotionally mature and more independent inside yourself emotionally. You know, emotional codependence is what most human beings in their relationships have to battle with their entire life, because our emotional states get tangled up with each other. So this is about bringing clarity into our feeling body, you know, so that we can accept with compassion those difficult states that come. And it doesn't matter where they come from. We don't have to name them. We don't have to go, well, that's yours, that's mine, that's an entity. You know, they're all, in a sense, entities. They're all forms. And we set the frequency, and then they come to roost in our aura. You know, so we set a low frequency. If we're having a bad day, then we set this frequency and we literally draw it towards ourselves. We draw those lower shadow patterns. And if we set a higher frequency, this is what the power of meditation and contemplation is. You reset to a higher frequency, and then it emanates out through your day and through your night, so you don't get caught in those nightmares, and you have a proper sleep pattern, because there's this high frequency that's just, you're sending out, you're radiating out, and it draws in the protection, it draws in higher entities, higher forms that then collect around you and coalesce around you. That's one way of putting it. It's just a way of understanding. And this is all imprinted in our second 7-year cycle, you know, from 7 to 8 to 14, because it's in that cycle that the emotional body is fully imprinted with its patterns for life. So consider all those things, and consider, you know, the effects that your emotional state have on your physical body, how profound that is, and contemplate the higher states and allow space for lower states to just evaporate on their own by bringing those higher states into them, towards them, enveloping them, wrapping yourself with the light, wrapping yourself with these city frequencies.